There's no way around it. This one here is a truly terrible smelling fragrance, but it's also a brilliant art piece. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel, today we're taking fragrances, and this is a practical review of État Libre d'Orange, Sécrétions Magnifiques. These reviews are usually for fragrances that I have a lot of experience with, multiple wears in many situations, and are meant to give you a general idea of what it feels to wear the fragrance. As per usual, I do a lot of research before buying fragrances, but I don't really like to go into details about notes and accords because I don't think that they help the end user. I'd rather talk about the wear experience as a whole. Most fragrances out there are designed to make you smell good. A few of them are designed to make you feel something, even if that something might be discomfort, confusion, and disbelief. Sécrétions Magnifiques is definitely one of these fragrances. Even calling it a fragrance, in my opinion, is very misleading because this product is really not meant to be that. This is not a perfume to be worn on the daily, to be wearable, and to be enjoyed by others. It's packaged as a perfume, but it's more of an experience. It's more of an experiment. It's more of an art piece and a statement. And in this regard, it's absolutely brilliant. At the same time though, I think that it's the way the product itself is packaged as a fragrance, as a perfume, which is making it so shocking, so bewildering, just so confusing, so polarizing. Actually, polarizing is not even the right word because polarization means that you can either go left or right or one way or another. And in this case specifically, I do feel that it's the majority of people that unanimously hate the smell of this. And I can't blame them. This does not smell good. It smells foul. It smells rancid. It's almost gag-inducing. It is that by design, and that's why I think it's so brilliant. Before, in my usual introduction spiel, I mentioned something very specific. I said that I usually test fragrances with multiple wears in pretty much every situation. When it comes to Sécrétions Magnifiques, that is not really the case. I have worn this a couple times, actually a few times, with full wears to really understand what this is, but I'm not going to be wearing this out and about. I'm not going to be wearing this to the gym. It's not really conducive to that. I feel that the words that I put in are absolutely enough to understand what this is, and they really gave me a sense of what art is in perfumery. I actually really like this fragrance, not because I like the juice. Again, I think that it smells absolutely horrible. I like the concept of it, and I'm actually very, very happy to own it. État Libre d'Orange is a brand that I really, really like. I think that they're absolutely brilliant. It's an intelligent, tongue-in-cheek brand, and they're all about questioning what perfumery is and what it should be. And Sécrétions Magnifiques, in my opinion, is the purest statement of this principle. It's a representation of the idea that our olfactory sense is not necessarily meant to only smell good, to only be associated to smelling pleasurable things. This one here is all about smelling human, to go intimate and to feel vulnerable. Yes, this fragrance has definitely a reputation of smelling human in the worst way possible, but beneath the shock factor, it's actually incredibly honest. It's telling us that our world is not necessarily full of only beautiful smells. There's a lot of stinky stuff out there. This is the embodiment of the concept that sometimes beauty and repulsion occupy the same space. And at this point, you would have all the right to think that I'm just an artsy hipster. And to an extent, you would be right. Initially, when I acquired this scent through a trade, I got it because it was edgy. I got it because I've never smelled it and I thought it would be fun. But then, when I first sprayed it on, I was like, this smells really, really bad. It's not as bad as I thought, but it still smells bad. And after that, I just put it on my shelf and I really haven't thought about it since. Lately, though, I've been forcing myself to wear this to really understand what this is and to really understand why this was conceived. And it's brilliant. My experience with this fragrance, in my opinion, has been quite interesting top to bottom, and I'm especially impressed how État Libre d'Orange has managed to design something so extremely well, to the point where everyone's initial reaction is almost the same. Everyone seems to have this sort of gag reflex because this fragrance is designed to trigger that. Antoine Lee, the perfumer for this, actually one of my favorite perfumers ever, famous for perfuming almost all of the fragrances from Les Indemodables, has really pulled some magic tricks here. Not necessarily in the best way possible, but they are extremely effective. When you first smell this, you will think of getting a gag reflex. You will think of disgust, you will feel shocked, you will feel weird and confused. This is the power of this fragrance. And actually, I think that it has to do with the power of suggestion in general. Smelling this in a vacuum without people knowing what it is, without knowing anything about this fragrance, would probably net a completely different result. I doubt that people would find this pleasing because, again, it's not necessarily a pleasing smell, but they wouldn't have the same weird gag reflex. They wouldn't be so disgusted. And that is actually what makes this a true art piece. I love this idea, this concept, the way it's developed so much. And again, I'm so happy to have this. And by the way, I'm kind of assuming that everyone watching this video knows what this thing is, knows what it's supposed to be smelling like, knows what it's inspired by. For better or for worse, this fragrance is actually pretty popular. I think that it's actually the best seller from the brand because it is, again, so edgy. It is captivating. Humans are interested. They're intrigued by this sort of thing. It's why Gualtieri fragrances are so popular, specifically stuff like Saldonaso. But anyway, going back to this, the name alone of the fragrance is really meant to suggest what this is all about. Sécrétions Magnifiques, the magnificent human secretions, is all about the human bodily fluids, everything that comes out of us, which is kind of smelly and disgusting. Sweat, saliva, tears, blood, semen, everything is stinky, everything is put together in a weird concoction which comes across as just kind of disgusting. Again, our brains are tuned up to really detect these smells and to really push away from these smells. Anyway, it's a very, very interesting fragrance, but we're going to talk about the scent profile after we cover the presentation. When it comes to presentation, the products, the fragrances by État Libre d'Orange are actually quite simple. I like the minimalistic look. I like the utilitarian point of view. These are functional. They're function over form. They are very, very simple, as I said before, but they have a distinct personality. I do feel that they're actually quite iconic. Maybe it's because of the logo. Maybe it's because all of the bottles kind of resemble each other and they're all slight variants on the same theme. They all showcase the État Libre d'Orange logo in circular form around this target looking thing, which is usually applied as a sticker to the corner of the bottle. This is true for the classics, for the core collection. But even the newer fragrances, some of which are much more exuberant, they keep the same look, they keep the same feel. Sometimes they overhaul completely regarding materials and colors, but they still look part of the brand. That is something that I really applaud. The brand has a strong brand identity, has a strong personality, has strong character. And interestingly enough, I do feel that the application of the sticker on the corner like this makes the bottles not necessarily look square, they look more like rhomboids because you tend to place the bottles on the shelf like this to really showcase the label. That is at least what I do. Very, very interesting. Again, not super groundbreaking, but the presentation is very, very solid. Actually, the bottles look really great. The quality of the bottles overall is great. And to be completely honest, a lot of these, especially when purchased at discounters, are incredibly affordable. We're going to touch upon the price later though. État Libre d'Orange is a great, great brand. Again, I like the brand identity. They're very, very solid. Anyway, let's go a little bit more into detail about the presentation specifically for Sécrétions Magnifiques. The bottle is classic État Libre d'Orange, no real frills. The cap is metal. It feels very, very weighty. It snaps on very reassuringly. You can easily pick up the bottle from the cap. The cap is very, very simple, no real frills. It is a little bit of a fingerprint magnet because it is chromed out as per the rest of the classic collection, but it's nice. On top, it even features an engraving with the logo of the brand. The atomizer is also above average. It's not the best out there. It's not pressurized. It doesn't have any fancy features, but the haptics are good. It sprays in a reliable, predictable manner. Let's give it one spray, and I'm saying one because this fragrance is rough. And I don't really feel like reapplying. I've been wearing it all day today, all day yesterday, and it's a doozy. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm being very, very distracted by the spray, by the smell of this fragrance. All I can say is that I really took advantage of a couple work from home days to really have this sink in, to really understand what this is, and to finally bring you my review of this. I would not advise you to bring this to work or to wear it outside in public in general. It does kind of smell like a porta potty, I'm not gonna lie. I'm past the gag reflex just because I know what this is and I know what to expect. But every time I spray it on, I'm immediately kind of recoiling. It is very, very particular. It's very, not pungent, it's very distressing. I find it very distressing. And I think that the note or component which is mostly bothering me in here is that blood component. It's that iodine, it's that disinfectant note, which is really reminding me of a hospital. I don't like hospitals. I don't like medical environments. I'm not really sure what happened to me when I was a kid. I don't remember anything, but I'm very, very sensitive to that sort of smell. Back to the presentation, down to the bottle. As I said before, these feel very, very high quality. The labeling, the sticker is also very well made. It's definitely not coming off. It also has this plastic rubberized coating on it. Again, it feels premium, it feels high quality. The glass is very, very transparent. The bottle overall is great. It's utilitarian, yes, it's simple, but it does the job. I have zero complaints. Even the sticker below is, again, simple, but it works. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like a clone brand at all. This feels purposely built. Talking price and value for money, let me quickly latch on to what I was talking about before, to what I was hinting at before. These fragrances, especially at discounters, can be had for extremely affordable prices. We're talking 50 to 60 bucks for a 50 ml, sometimes even cheaper. I think I got my Fat Electrician for something like 39 euros for 50 mls. That is absolutely amazing, especially considering that these fragrances come across as high quality. They smell very, very unique. The brand is very ironic with this weird tongue-in-cheek humor, which surprisingly I do really appreciate. All these things combined make État Libre d'Orange, in my opinion, one of the best brands to approach when you're trying to get into niche. These smell niche, not necessarily quality-wise, although they come across as high quality, but more because they smell very, very unique. They smell intentional. They smell intelligent. État Libre d'Orange, great brand, so many offerings, and these are all pretty much a strong departure from usual designer fragrances. So if you want to get into niche and you don't want to spend a fortune, État Libre d'Orange is the brand you want to look at. But now it's time to talk about the scent profile we're experienced for État Libre d'Orange's Sécrétions Magnifiques. What does this actually smell like? This is a weird fragrance to talk about. It's difficult and simple at the same time. Simply put, it kind of smells like a public toilet in the worst way possible. There's no urinal cake, there's no detergent, there's no lemony cleaning product. This smells like a straight up dirty porta potty that has been sitting under the sun baking. It doesn't necessarily smell poopy, there's no real poopy component in here, but the pissy component is front and center. And I feel that this ammonia is actually the common factor of all human secretions. Again, it's common in sweat, it's common in pee, it's common in semen. It has this aura about it. It has this pungency about it, which is kind of gag-inducing. Also, there's something weird in here, which is really replicating the idea of blood. I'm not really sure what it is. It has this ferrous component. It smells like iodine. It smells like some sort of disinfectant. And there's also something else in here, which is kind of giving this whole thing a definite texture, and it's giving this a milky texture. So I'm not really sure what it is, but it's probably some sort of a lactonic note. It's very, very particular. And this whole thing, this beautiful concoction, is all wrapped up in this bubble of savory, salty seawater, almost like rancid, standing seawater. It's weird. There's something marine about this, which is not necessarily human-like, but I guess it's the sweat component. I'm not really sure. Overall, what can I say? This smells pretty terrible. It's not really wearable in public, so this will be kind of short. The fragrance does last a long time. It does kind of develop. The pungent opening is definitely the worst part, and I feel that it's also the worst because you're not really expecting it. Every time you spray this on, you're like, oh my God, I feel like gagging. But again, I really want to touch upon the power of suggestion, because this fragrance smells all these things just because it's replicated so well in the marketing and in the name. Without the name of the fragrance being so obvious, without the whole marketing background, without the knowledge of what this fragrance is all about, because it is very, very popular within the fragrance community, would this scent be perceived the same way upon first sniff? The answer is actually, no. I tested this with a couple of friends and a couple of great colleagues, and although the scent does definitely not come across as appealing or likable, it mostly generates confusion. There's no gag reflex whatsoever. Only when I explain what this is and what it's inspired by is when I get a reaction. The knowledge, the understanding of what this is generates this visceral reaction, almost like a nausea thing. It's really, really weird. And again, it really showcases the power of suggestion. Knowing what this is really impacts how you smell this. It's incredible. And that's why I like this fragrance so much. That's why I think that it's a brilliant art piece. This is like a social experiment. It's really, really cool. As I was saying before though, the very opening of this is actually the most pungent part of the scent profile. That is what might be gag inducing. As you wear this, as the hours go by, because again, this is very, very long lasting, you start getting used to the scent profile, and actually it starts mellowing off, it starts fading off. It always retains that pissy BO component, it always retains that ammonia feeling, but it's not overbearing. It is kind of distracting. I find it especially distracting because that ferrous component, which is in the blood aspect of the scent, really never goes away. So that is really, really jarring to me. But overall, this becomes more and more something like Sadonaso by Nasomatto. And if you like that scent profile, the dry down for this is not necessarily super offensive. And by the way, this scent compared to Sadonaso is much worse in terms of smell because there's no redeeming factor. Sadonaso has this weird sexy vanilla about it. This one here just smells like straight up bodily fluids. Again, it's awful, yes, but it's meant for that. It's meant to generate that sort of reaction. I don't really have much else to say about the general scent profile and overall wear experience, and I actually feel that talking about tonal ranges or just wear experiences in general, transitions and evolutions, is kind of redundant. A lot of people will never experience the dry down of this because they will be scrubbing it off. And I'm not even suggesting to endure the wear experience or to go through this whole thing, because there's no real prize at the end. The scent really presents everything that it has in the beginning, and it just fades off in a very smooth, long-lasting manner. And I can't blame you if after a couple hours you just want to wash it off. The only reason to endure this is to really understand what this is about, to really have it sink in, to really have it trigger your thoughts and imagination. But again, if you're not into art, if you're not into fragrances which are very, very artsy, this is a hard skip. I would still suggest sampling it because it is very, very particular. But other than that, I would just leave it alone. This is really not wearable. It's not meant to be wearable. And if you buy this thinking that maybe you can appreciate it and kind of wear it in an edgy manner, it's probably not going to be the case. But now some practicalities for État Libre d'Orange Sécrétions Magnifiques, starting as per usual with performance. Performance for this is actually surprisingly good. The longevity is extremely high, maybe because it is so foreign, it's so distracting, but you really can't think of anything else for a good 8 hours. And you will be smelling it, you'll be detecting it for all the wear experience. The projection when you initially spray it is decent. It's not super loud, it's not necessarily room filling, but trust me, it's absolutely enough for you to smell it in your personal space. This thing will creating an invasive sillage bubble around you for a very, very long time. The wear experience overall, I have to be completely honest, is very, very good. It's incredibly smooth. There's no jarringness, there's no jumps. It just peters off in this very subtle, very linear, very predictable manner. And if you like the scent profile, you'll be in heaven. If you hate it, you'll be in hell. This thing here sticks around for a very, very long time in a very predictable manner. It's actually very difficult to wash off. And dare I say it, please do not get it on clothes. On clothes, it's very, very long lasting. I basically have to throw out a t-shirt just because it would not wash off. It just kept this BO feeling. It smelled like an old t-shirt that just demanded to be thrown out. Needless to say, when it comes to use cases and general versatility, this thing here doesn't even classify. It's borderline unwearable. Again, it's really not designed for that. There could be an argument of you wearing it in the house if you really want to be triggered, if this thing here really has you meditating, but outside, please do not wear this. People will not appreciate it. You will just come across as smelling bad, smelling dirty, smelling unwashed. It will be like you walking around as a public toilet, that kind of feeling. So I don't think that you would want to intentionally present yourself to the world like that. It just doesn't really aid any sort of personality or any character. It's not confidence inspiring. It's just unlikable. I guess you could potentially wear this to a Halloween party or something like that, but I specifically refrained from mentioning it in my recently released Halloween video because it's not really fun. I mean, you might get a giggle initially, but then it stops being fun very, very fast. It becomes a nuisance. It never goes away and it's kind of stinky. So yeah, this is a very particular fragrance, which is not really a fragrance. This is an art piece. It's an experimental thing to be put on when you want to be triggered, when you want to feel that art. I'm definitely going to be keeping this. I'm not going to be trading it or selling it off because I like what this thing represents. I like it as a statement piece. I like it as a piece of art. But wearing it, it's a whole different story. I really don't foresee myself just wearing it just because I have other scents that really trigger my emotions, that make me meditate. This is actually very, very distracting for me. And yeah, other than in the house, I strongly do not recommend pushing it out in public unless you just want to come across as dirty and foul. When it comes to demographics, I mean, what can I say? I decided to cover demographics and everything because I just cover these sections all the time. But this is extremely abstract. It's basically an art piece that smells like bodily fluid. And you need to be a very specific person to even be open-minded enough to enjoy such a thing or to appreciate it. Again, I appreciate it, but this is completely genderless. It's completely ageless. This can be for everyone. It could be for no one. And to be completely honest, I'm leaning a little bit more towards no one. When it comes to imagery and narration, this can be a little bit of an interesting conversation. It is a little bit different. There's no narration whatsoever. There's no storytelling. There's no sequences of events. But this is a very emotional fragrance. It really triggers your deeper emotions as a human. It triggers this gag reflex. It triggers disgust. It's very Again, it's very triggering, it's very shocking. And for this alone, I really have to give this props because I really applaud Antoine Lee and État Libre d'Orange for coming up with something like this. This is completely unheard of. Again, there are other fragrances which are smelling kind of bad, that they have a very strong musky component, like Saldonazo once again, but those are designed still to be a fragrance. They're edgy fragrances to be worn. Even the Toskovat fragrances, to an extent, are designed to be experienced, and they're very, very dramatic, they're very emotional, but they're still designed to be fragrances. This is not really a fragrance like that, but at the same time, it's not even designed to be a prop or a gag. It's not like the Boring Company's Burnt Hair, which I reviewed in the past. That one there is just pure foul. That is just a chemical that smells bad and it smells like burnt hair. This one here is more purposeful. This one is designed to trigger a specific emotion, is designed to show the user something very, very specific about their humankind, I guess. Again, I do like the product. I think that it's masterfully put together. I think that it's brilliant, and I do recommend it as an art piece, just not as a fragrance. But now, some options for my reviewed fragrance. And in the case of Sécrétions Magnifiques, I was actually pondering to just skip this section altogether. Because to be completely honest, I don't really have other products which are labeled as fragrances, which can be considered art pieces in this way. Nonetheless, I decided to showcase a couple fragrances, 3, that are quite thought-provoking. The first one is from Toskovat. This one here is Spinal Fluid on the Walls, and it's my recent acquisition from the brand. This fragrance is very, very edgy. At the same time though, it is kind of designed to be a fragrance, and this can be worn in public. Is it harsh? Absolutely. What does it smell like? So this comes across as very, very green. For whatever reason, Toskovat decided to imagine the idea, the concept of spinal fluid as very, very green. This comes across as harsh, piercing galbanum green. It smells like some sort of chemical mixed with pepperiness, mixed with a lot of greenness. It smells like something to clean a sterile room or something like that. It's very, very particular. I like it. I like the concept. I like the execution. But to be completely honest, I'm not going to be wearing it a lot because it is too aggressive, too pungent. This is aggressive for the sake of being aggressive. And I don't really subscribe to fragrances like that. This one here is super edgy in nature. The name tells the whole story, but it doesn't necessarily get me thinking as much as other Toskovat scents. I think that what makes this fragrance so distinct to other Toskovats, which are definitely a lot more relatable, given the fact that they're based on everyday life stories, is the fact that this is so unrelatable, so abstract. It really gets you thinking on why. Why was this designed? Why was this named this way? And why does it smell this specific way? Again, it's very dramatic, it's very edgy, it's very aggressive, but why has it been designed this way? What triggered this scent? It's a very interesting concept, and I do feel that this is not random at all. I do feel that David does not make anything random. The Toskovat brand is incredibly purposeful. It's almost like a diary. It's a personal diary. So this might be relating to not necessarily a real life event, but this might be like an interpretation of some sort of trauma. And I am intrigued by personal stories. This is cool. It's not my favorite at all. I think that Toskovat is an amazing brand. Unfortunately, it's impossible to get, so I can't really recommend it. I will be reviewing my Toskovats, but they are very, very difficult to tackle. They're just very emotional. They're kind of distressing and depressing. The second fragrance that I want to show you as an option is definitely less thought-provoking. It's not necessarily super intelligent or imaginative. This is just a weird fragrance, which is difficult to wrap your head around just because of the way it smells. This one here is Hyrax by Zoologist. This fragrance represents the animal. It's actually a very cute animal in a very cute representation, but the way this fragrance smells is all but cute. I absolutely love this fragrance, and to be completely honest, it's actually one of my favorites in my collection. I just like the artwork. I like Zoologist. I like the smell of this. I do occasionally wear this outside, not really in public, not at work, not at the gym, but I do wear it on my walks. This is very, very thought-provoking just because it's zen. It's zen-like. I like animalic notes. They really trigger my lizard brain for some reason. This one here is exactly that. This is like pure animalics. To be completely honest, this kind of smells like leather. It smells like sweat. It has this weird uplifting, effervescent, gasoline-like floral component, which is really just positioning with this leather, which is gritty. It's not supple at all. It has sandpaper texture. It's stiff. It's dry. It's very, very animalic. This smells very pissy. It has this incredibly dense ammonia feeling. It smells like dare I say it, kind of like cat litter. It has that same crystallized ammonia smell. It's very, very pungent. It's very, very particular. And yeah, not necessarily recommended for daily use, but it is a masterpiece in my opinion. I think that it's very relaxing. I do find this very, very relaxing in a similar way that I find Silver Oud by Amouage very relaxing. There's something about incredibly potent animalic notes and fragrances which really grounds me, it really calms me down. Again, I enjoy wearing this. I love the art. I love the depiction of the animal. I love zoologists in general. And this all makes for one of my favorite fragrances of all time. I do suggest checking it out because it is an experience. It's not an experience that you might like, but it is an experience that is formative when it comes to fragrances. It's a reference point when it comes to animalics. It's very, very particular. I'm so happy I have this. I'm so happy I bought this. The last fragrance option that I want to showcase is a Gualtieri. I could have not made this list without mentioning his name. I did not bring Sadonaso though, because Sadonaso is too similar to Sécrétions Magnifiques, while at the same time being very, very different in concept. I decided to go for Fantomas, because Fantomas, in my opinion, is actually the more thought-provoking fragrance from Alessandro Gualtieri, from the brand of Nasomatto specifically. This one here is absolutely brilliant. I like its narrative. I like its imagery. This is very difficult to grasp, and even when you put it on, you're very puzzled. You're very confused. This smells initially like melon, like a nice ripe or even overripe orange melon. And then it starts becoming this rubbery smoke. And then it kind of disappears and it comes back as something else. And it alternates between melon, smoke, and asphalt or mineralic notes. It's very, very jarring. And the beauty of this is the way it changes, is the way it triggers your brain, is the way it tickles your brain, it tickles your imagination. If you don't know anything about Fantomas, you're going to be extremely confused by it. And once you get into the lore and understand the inspiration for this, you'll get that this is based on a vintage comic book villain which had the ability to seemingly disappear from the police like that, leaving no trace and never getting caught. This is smoke and mirrors in the best possible way. All the notes in here come and go almost like a phantom. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, it's very, very confusing. And that's why I think many people don't like this. They don't really understand this. Again, it's not a pure masterpiece that you need to sample, that you need to understand. Otherwise, you're not worthy of perfumery. But it is a very interesting fragrance created by a very interesting mind. I love Alessandro Gualtieri. I love what he represents in perfumery. He has this brilliant ideas which are super edgy, super provocatory. I like that stuff, and in my opinion, Alessandro Gualtieri is a force for good in the fragrance industry. He's one of those characters that just need to be in the fragrance industry, that will be remembered long term. As far as this goes, if it sounds appealing, be sure to check out my first impression comparison video where I paired this actually with a Toskovat. If that is not enough, sit tight, a full review is coming soon. But now it's time for my overall conclusions and recommendations for Sécrétions Magnifiques by État Libre d'Orange. In my opinion, this is not even a fragrance, as I said multiple times in this review. This is more like an art piece. This is something to think about. This is something to experience and to be triggered by, to be shocked by. It's designed to be that. Don't resist it. Don't resist that gag impulse. Just embrace it for what it is. It means that the art is doing its thing. It means that you're responsive to this. It's absolutely wonderful. And sometimes the best fragrances are not necessarily the ones that make us the most comfortable. They're the ones that remind us that beauty and disgust, fascination and fear are actually not that far apart as we think they are. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It's always massively appreciated and helps the channel. If you want to interact with me, leave a comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. It's never taken for granted. Many more videos to come, many more reviews, many more fun fragrance showcases. See you in the next one, and cheers.